In this video, we're going to take a look at the symbol editor in CAM350. Now, the symbol editor is used in conjunction with the panel editor for automatically populating coupons, fiducials, tooling holes, drill patterns, IPC coupons, whatever you want in the usually in the periphery or the edges of the panel. Often you want these coupons, we'll call them, to have different information depending on which layer they're on. For instance, if we go to this coupon in the upper right here, you'll notice that on layer 1, the top side, we have this pattern. On a plain layer, we have clearances, and then we have traces and other patterns here on internal layer 3, and that may be different than internal layer 4. And it may be different than the bottom. What the symbol editor allows you to do is to actually populate your coupons with different information so that when you create a panel, it will place that information on the proper layer. So whether it be a drill coupon where we're placing a first last hit type thing, or an IPC coupon, or even just a fiducial or tooling hole. In addition, with our symbols, you can put parameters in there that will keep it away from things like venting patterns and PCB images and so forth. So once again, our goal is to get to this panel, and we'll talk about now how to get there by creating these symbols in the symbol editor. So the symbol editor is accessed from the panel editor. So if I go to Tools and go to the panel editor, I can now go to the Tools ribbon here and I'll see the symbol editor. This is really the only way you get to the library with all the symbols in it. If you have any existing symbols in your library, and you can have both an internal and an external library, they would show here. You could get a preview of them. You can edit them here. Also, on the same pane here, we have the layer display, and this is where we decide what information is going to go on which of the layers when we create our coupons. So, we're going to create a coupon or symbol. We're using that synonymous right now, and we're going to create it from scratch, and then later on I'll show you how to do that from an existing panelization. One thing I like to do whenever I'm creating a new symbol or coupon is I like to use the grid. So I'm going to turn the grid snap on and the grid visibility on. And remember, you can control the spacing of the grid right here. We'll leave it at like 50 mils there. Okay. And you'll notice the cursor is snapping to grid points. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add information to multiple layers. Now, in order to add that information to those layers, it needs to be in the aperture list. So I'm going to use the hotkey A to bring up the aperture list. And that was just simply typing A on my keyboard. I'm going to go to the bottom of this list, and I'm going to look for an open decode, and I'm going to add the shapes that I want to add here. So for this particular coupon, we're going to start off with a square. We're going to make it 50 mils and add that one. And let's add another one. We'll make it also a square of 75 mils. And let's add one more, maybe 100 mils. So square 100, enter. Okay, so we've added those apertures, shapes, and sizes to our aperture list so that now that we can use the design ribbon to go ahead and design our symbol here. So we're going to put the first piece of information on the top layer. And I'm going to go to design, and I'm going to tell it to add a flash. And I'm going to choose the flash that I want to add out of my list here. And I'm going to add that square 50 mils. Okay. Now I may want to put the same feature on another layer. I can use the copy command for that. So if I go to copy, choose this, choose the 2 layers option up here, and I can actually pick which layers that I want to add it to. So I'm going to add it to my bottom layer here. Okay. So now I've got my square 50 on the top and bottom. I want to add some solder mask clearance for this, so I'm going to go to my solder mask top, and now I'm going to insert flash. This time we're going to choose the 75, which is going to be our solder mask clearance. We'll add it in the same location, and just like before, if we want to copy it off to the bottom side, we could. Okay, so now we have a pad on our 2 outer layers with solder mask clearances. What do we want to populate with our coupon on our internal layers? Now, I've got a few options here. I can just say add it to internal, and whatever I put here will put it on all internal layers. Doesn't matter if they're plane layers or signal layers. Whatever I add here is going to go on those layers. If I want to add something on the first internal layer and then something different on the second internal layer, I would add here and then go to the second internal and add the different thing, third internal, fourth internal, and so forth. And that also works with planes, both negative and positive. You can do the same way. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to say internal, and we're going to go back one more time to design, and we're going to add a flash. This time we'll use the 100 mil, and we're going to put it at the same location, and now it's going to populate all internal layers with that. Okay. Alright, so let's go back to our symbol manager here, and let's go ahead and save our symbol. Whenever you save a symbol, it asks if you want to add a border. Now what the border does is it allows you to basically add a keep out to that particular symbol or coupon. You don't have to do it because you can always set up your spacing on your venting later on to stay away from coupons and symbols. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Add border and save. It's going to prompt me to give it a name. And we'll just call it square fiducial, so square fid here. And we're going to call it we can call it coupon, we can call it a fiducial, pinning hole, title block. These are more placeholders than anything to kind of help you arrange your symbols. Okay. And now I'm done with my symbol. I've created it. What I can do now is I can actually save this to the library so that it's available on other jobs. You don't have to do that, but I went ahead and did that. So that's how we would create a symbol from scratch. But what if I've got some existing panelization? Maybe we manually do it now and we want to automate it in the future. Can I take an existing symbol and make it into one that I can reuse from the design to design? And of course the answer is yes. I'm going to go down here to this symbol at the bottom, and we're going to make a symbol out of this. Now right now it's just basically a Gerber layer, but we're going to make a symbol out of this particular coupon. Once again, I will select the data here, and then I'm going to choose what layers it goes on, just like when we created it manually. So I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to go under the Draw Objects ribbon here, draw to symbol. And just like everything in CAM350, I am going to follow the prompts in the lower left corner here. So single select, or W for group mode. W is going to put me in a windowing mode. So I'm just going to window around this coupon. Okay, right click to end that command, and it's going to ask me, well, what do you want to call this? We'll call it IPC coupon 2. We'll let it go ahead and be a type coupon. We'll let it add the 50 mils. And then the layer treatment. Do I want to add this to all my layers? Do I want to add it to all electrical layers? Do I want to add it to all layers of this particular type? Or whatever the current layer that it's added to. So this coupon, as we've seen, has already got information on different layers. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this last option, current layer, and click OK. And it has created our symbol for me. We could now go to Tools panel and then into the symbol editor to see our symbol, and we can edit it from this point if we wanted to. So here's the one we created. I'm going to go back to the layer display here, and we're going to see what's on each layer. So on the top we have these pads, internal we have pads, positive plane. So it looks like it was set up that it's going to add the same pattern to all internal layers, whether they're internal or positive planes. Bottom is like that. Do we have solder mask clearances? We don't have solder mask clearances, so I would probably go ahead and add them at this point and then just resave the symbol. But for our purposes, we've created the symbol. Now we've got our two symbols in here now. This one that we created with the draw to symbol, and then we have our square fiducial that we created manually. So one last time, let's go in and create a panel, and I'll show you how you use the symbols in the panel. Okay, let's go ahead and create a panel using our new symbols. So we're going to go to the Tools ribbon, Panel. We're going to go to Panel Setup. And for this particular panel, I'm going to do a 8 by 11. Let's put 0.1 between the boards, and maybe an inch all the way around. Now here is where we can add our symbols. So we're going to add one. This is going to be our IPC coupon. Okay. Where do we want it? Let's put it, let's move it in a little, but let's leave it in that lower left corner. All right, you get the little preview of where it's going. And let's go ahead and add our fiducial. And again, we'll use the relative mode. I just find that easier. Absolute's based off the datum point down there. Let's put this in the center of the top, just like most fiducials are. Okay. And we'll put it 0 in X, but we'll bring it down to 0.5 in Y. Okay, so there's where it's going to go. We're now going to go to Panel Create. It's going to show us how many fit. We can play around with that part of it. It's not our goal here, so I'm going to go ahead and have it create our panel. Turn on our images so that we can see those. You can see it's already populating with different information on different layers. Remember, we didn't add the solder mask clearances there. Internal layers will have information on it, and so forth. The last step, of course, is if you want to add panel venting, you can. So let's just let's go over here. Let's add a thieving pattern to our outer layers. We'll make it a solid robber bar that's 1,000 mils or 1 inch, I guess we could put in there. And then as far as keepaways, we'll let it go out to the panel edge. We'll keep it 0.03 from any, oh, that's mils, sorry. So 30 mils from any image and 30 mils from any symbol. Okay, what layers do we want to add it to? Let's put it on the top and the bottom. We'll hit apply. We can't see it, we don't have those layers turned on, but we've added a robber bar. And then while we're at it, let's add another pattern here. This time we'll do a venting pattern, and this is going to be a dot pattern. We get a little preview of that over there. There's parameters you can play with if you haven't messed with the venting, but we're going to let this run to the panel edge as well. And once again, we'll use the 30 and 30 there to keep it away. And we'll add this to, let's do it to our inner layers here, inner layers 3 and 4. You know, we could add it to our planes as well. We could invert it. We could offset it. There's all sorts of options there. But I just want to show you how it keeps away from these symbols. So just say OK to that. And as you can see on this layer, and then we'll go to the top layer where we've got our robber bar, it kept it away from that. So this is how you can work with symbols in conjunction with doing panelization. One last thing I do want to show you is in that panel setup dialog, if you have what we call the panel editor, the full-blown panel editor, you can save these and reuse them from design to design with all of the symbols that you've put in there. If you have the fast array module, you do not have access to the symbols, and you cannot save panelization, panel sizes, keep outs, that sort of thing. So that's the difference between our two panel options. So symbol editing really comes along with when we're creating fabrication panels, and that's what our full-blown panel editor is usually used for. Now, that's not to say that you can't use it for creating a really intelligent assembly panel, but typically what we see is people are using a symbol editor in creating fabrication panels.